It's time to leave your cinematic troubles behind. Let the takes flow through you. And let the noise from the zeitgeist subside. Welcome to Cast Against Time.
Welcome to Cast Against Time.
Just blew out everybody's eardrum.
You're welcome.
I can't hear you.
Matthew!
Hello?
I am your host, Colin J. Dixon.
I know this.
And I am joined by also host, Matthew Stephen Frankel. Welcome back to the States,
Thank you.
Matthias.
Where
the fuck were you?
I was in Switzerland and Italy.
Wow.
Italia. Italia.
And you're the only person maybe on the planet who liked Switzerland more than Italy.
I did.
Congratulations. We found
that
you.
person.
No, that's fun. That was just for funsies, right?
It was.
All right. Well, you know what? You stayed here the night before you were lucky enough to hit the beautiful Los Angeles International Airport.
Oh, man. What a gem.
You know what you left? You left your toothbrush.
I didn't. My wife did.
And it's just been in that room with all the swirling fetid matter.
Did you leave it in the clear cylinder?
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to pretend that I didn't use it, smell it, stick it in places.
Lick it?
No. No. Yeah. I definitely left it.
Yeah, she was wondering where it went. And then we just figured out like a day ago that it was probably here.
She didn't want to know where it went. Okay, well, welcome back. What are you drinking over there?
I am drinking a bourbon and kombucha.
What kind of bourbon?
Templeton rye.
Okay.
I don't know what kind of Templeton rye you got down there.
So it's a rye.
Yeah.
So you're a liar.
Why?
It's not bourbon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, drunks?
Yeah.
They distinguish.
Not the really drunk ones.
Matthew!
What are you drinking?
Yeah, I'm drinking a gimlet. A gin gimlet. Yeah. And you know what? I'm quite pleased with it.
Oh.
You get to drink it.
Patting yourself on the back. Yep.
Nobody loves anything more than drunk ASMR. It's been wet here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it has.
And I think that all the so I live near the beach, and that's not a brag. I actually don't really
like one.
No, I actually don't really like it very much.
Do you not like the sand or the water?
I don't like the people.
Okay.
And I can tell that when it rains here, all the little Tanners and Blakeleys get real riled up and they have all this pent up energy, because as soon as it stops raining, you see a horde, just a murder, if you will,
at the beach
of little toe-headed children with EY endings of their first names en masse, taking to the streets in their little e-bikes. And you know what? I am here for it.
You're here for the e-bike riders.
I just love watching the children.
Oh, sarcasm.
No. No. Am I too hard on the youth, Mr. Frank?
At times.
Well, but have you ever seen them? Have you ever interacted with them?
A child?
Yes.
Yes.
So didn't you know what I'm talking about? Isn't there just a level of just repulsion that ripples through your body when you're around one?
I think there's an age group that it reaches. There's a range. I think once you hit 11 or 12 to then 23,
29 maybe.
23, 24 after they've gotten through the 21, like the drinking age. I think from those 10 years, 13 to 23, they can be gone.
That's
and
fair.
then
I've always
before
said
and after.
I've always said you're not a real person until you're at least 25. So I think that kind of tracks.
Yeah. So I think they're cute and charming, and there's something about some redeeming qualities of a child up until the bratty teenage years. And then if you could just turn them off until they get to 23, 24, then it's better.
You tell me you don't want to turn on the children?
I would prefer not to turn on the children.
I want to turn on all the children. I know that I already do.
I need to call someone.
Where are you going?
I was going to run. I was going to warn the children.
Yeah. No, if anything, go out there and join it. Whatever. You know, when it rains, I can just tell that they've got a lot of pent up angst, because they got to be out there shredding some gnar on those bikes.
Oh, I thought you were going to go against the e-bikes.
That is one of my most old man shakes his fist at the cloud.
Let's hear it.
Qualities. Well, I'm not going to go on a rant about e-bikes.
They don't know about it.
That's virtually, if you've spent more than 10 seconds on fucking Nextdoor, which why would you?
You are on Nextdoor all the time.
No, I get pinged by Nextdoor all the time.
Why do you have the
different.
notifications on?
Great question. Don't know how to turn them off. Anyway, no, but I mean, it's like it's that, and finding any excuse to talk about every pothole as like a liberal plot against America or whatever, So that's basically what Nextdoor is. But I'm not going to sit here and rant about e-bikes because like it's literally the saddest neighborhood referee bullshit that you can do. But I will say, like, the next time I witness a child get creamed by a fucking truck or whatever.
Wait, have you seen children get creamed by trucks?
Not like I haven't witnessed any death.
But you've seen them be hit by trucks.
Yeah.
Because you said the next one.
Well, yeah, because no, now I know what you're doing. You're taking me down territory where I'm going to sound like the oldest 40-year-old
No, I'm saying
all time.
You said when I see the next child get hit by a truck, as if you've seen this before.
I have seen kids get hit by cars, and but again, all I'm saying is, you know what? Fucking go for it, Tanner.
I feel like we're not going into this, and we don't have to. But that's a traumatizing thing.
No,
if you saw a child get hit by a truck,
he got up.
Sure, that's not the part that's traumatizing, though.
He was fine.
Like if you got hit by a car, that would probably be traumatizing.
Yeah, but I don't blow through stop signs. I'm not an asshole.
That's true.
Okay, whatever. This is making me sound so fucking old. As if in our trying to throw down with the kids slang segment from 2 episodes ago wasn't bad enough.
Well, let's shift then. Okay. Let's get into our realm, because I have a serious question for you.
Into our realm
of culture and movies and film and drinking.
I'm ready for all these.
I want to know why you yelled at Rebecca Ferguson on the set.
Because I just think she's just too darn precious, She's got those dimples, just burst on the scene, and everybody's talking about Rebecca. And you know what? You haven't earned it yet, Rebecca.
So you told
her
off.
At least at the time.
You were top dog on the set and you needed to tell her.
That's right. Was Dwayne Johnson responding to that
he
very much? He
responded so quickly.
Was that very much the Craig Robinson, like we're all trying to figure out who did this meme?
That's what I took from it. I feel like if it wasn't you, you have no reason to come out and say it wasn't you.
Or I mean, whatever. I mean, maybe he's like gonna do the fucking what was his wrestling move? What was his finishing move?
The rock bottom or people's elbow?
Maybe he's gonna do the people's elbow on him or whatever. But I doubt it.
For context, Rebecca Ferguson of Dune and Mission Impossible and other action movies was on a podcast or an interview, and she said that she was on set once and the number one actor on the call sheet degraded her in front of the whole set, and then the next day she came and yelled at that person and said that she would not act with them and would rather act alongside a tennis ball than that person.
We know it's not Tom Cruise.
Well, and then the internet, and then she said it's not Tom Cruise and it's not Hugh Jackman, and it happened within the last 10 years. So the internet did its thing and tried to figure out for 24 hours who this could be.
Oh God, she was in that fucking circus musical, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Ooh, that makes that drops her stock a little bit for me.
So, well, she was in Hercules, which to her credit, fine. She doesn't acknowledge it, and she's like, "I'm not going to promote that."
It's probably got to be The Rock, but
people are saying Hugh Grant, but he wasn't the number one in that movie that she was in with him. It was Meryl Streep. But it sounds like Hugh Grant.
You know who it could be though? Could be Ewan McGregor.
But so this is the thing: is there's been a bunch of clips of like her and Ewan McGregor doing EPKs or talk shows, and they've been chummy. Same with Fassbender. So they're like, either it's a big act or it was one of these two.
So you've joined the internet sleuthing on this
I'm a
endeavor.
Big Rebecca Ferguson fan. I love her.
I enjoy her output as well.
Like seems like a super chill person, and
love is a little strong. I mean,
I adore her.
You never met her. She might be a real see.
She loves me. She's never met me.
Oh, that's true. I guess she is our number one fan.
Yeah. Hi, Rebecca.
Well, yeah. But I feel like it's got to be The Rock, but I also I'm
Jake
not
Gyllenhaal
like,
was a big one.
Now what were they in together?
Life.
She was in Life. God, well that could have been any one of those.
Could have been Ryan Reynolds. That's another thing.
Yeah,
because he was like 1A.
It could have been the guy from Shogun, which apparently is supposed to be the best thing since fucking sliced bread.
I know.
haven't seen it yet. I guess I doubt it was a Hiroyuki Sanada, but so it was probably it could have been Reynolds.
The best one is there's a bunch of pictures of her with Jacob Tremblay from Dr. Sleep, and people saying it was Jacob Tremblay.
Well, Tremblay, his star didn't rise very high before it came crashing down to earth.
I mean, he did Little Mermaid.
Oof, man, that God,
I think it was Flounder in that.
You just saw my brain beach ball when you mentioned. I just forgot that. Oh man. What a turn. Oh, that's right, because he was a
child when they recorded, and then he was a senior citizen when it came out.
Well, he was put in the also in the unfortunate position of having to defend how shitty it looked, and like tried to do it sincerely on the red carpet. And I was like, no, Jacob, you don't really have to. You don't have to defend this. He was too young to realize that he should have just been like, I don't know, we'll see how it goes.
My money's on Gyllenhaal.
Okay. I would say Gyllenhaal or Dwayne The Rock, although apparently Mr. Johnson wants to be the president one day, so that would be a skeleton in his closet that he would try to. Actually, that's even more.
The only reason I don't think it's The Rock is because, yes, it's suspicious to come out and do that, but you're putting yourself on notice because she can easily be like, no, it was The Rock, and you just have egg on your face. So if you're The Rock and you come out and do that, you're making yourself look worse if she then comes out and says it was you.
I also am not like enough of a celebrity culture guy to care enough, I guess. I mean, I think that's it's interesting. It's funny to like listen to like set meltdowns and things like this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but yeah, I listen. I appreciate Ms. Ferguson very much in her output. Very excited to see her in Dune 2 chicks at the same time. Woo! Sorry, that wasn't mine. I heard that was from I think that was from the Fraudcast. I heard those guys do that. So that wasn't mine. Blame them. And now, because now every time I hear Dune 2, I just hear Dune 2 chicks at the same time. All right,
it's like
we're not here to promote other shows. No.
What are we here for?
We're here to promote our own show. What show? A show
about?
Well, first of all, Cast Against Type, a show where we examine the pathology of the mob as it pertains to the world of the film, where we try to restore some sanity to the discourse, everybody's favorite thing, as it pertains to the world of cinema. And we do this in one of three ways. One, by addressing the cinematic conundrums submitted by you, the listener. Two, by unpacking the ideas and assertions we stumble across out there in the media, be it social or otherwise. And three, by occasionally subjecting ourselves to mysterious media oddities. We are going to do that today.
Today.
Oops.
Man, come on.
All right. Look, when are we going to program these fucking buttons?
Well, that was a perfect one. You were going to give us an applause, and you missed. There it is.
We still need to program.
That was a good one.
All right. I don't like them. It's stock. This is company shit. We're just promoting.
If listeners have any sound,
yeah, please
ideas.
Well, I've got quite a few. I'm not even afraid to tease it. I've got quite a few reach me sound bites to drop in here. So,
oh man,
oh yeah,
you have to get some Pacino.
We're gonna and vicariously people may discover that film through us. Although it has been talked about on other podcasts, better podcasts.
The Tom Jane vehicle, reach me.
Yes, the Danny Aiello vehicle, everybody's favorite.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. to a real one. Is Clifton Collins still alive? He's got.
I don't know who that is.
He's the guy. He was in 187. He was in Scott Pilgrim. He was like the guy that like shows up next to Thomas Jane. He's like the weird.
Thomas Jane was in Scott Pilgrim?
Well, they make. Oh no, it wasn't Thomas Jane. It was Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like one of the discourse detectives, or I forget what that scene was.
Sure, he's dead.
No,
I don't know.
I think he was married to Clint Eastwood's daughter.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Clint Eastwood.
Can you imagine?
I know who's married to Clint Eastwood.
Well, you do. I know you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's the ex.
Wow.
Yeah. So you have his discontent to thank for being related very, very loosely to Clint. And when you guys are together at Christmas, you can talk about how you knew, ever since seeing Traffic, that Clifton Collins, Gonzalez, or whatever his full name is. I think that is his name.
He has 3 Gonzalez's.
Well, it's like Clifton Gonzalez the third junior or something. Anyway, you can say that you knew ever since Traffic that guy's bad news, and that you're happy to be part of the family, Clint.
We are doing great.
All right. Okay, well, let's dive right in. Okay, well, so as I mentioned, one of the ways that we try to restore sanity to the discourse, I hate self for that phrase, is by addressing the cinematic conundrums submitted by you, the listeners. And today we have one from, let's see, this one comes to us via email from Logan F. in Atlanta. Hello, Logan.
F. Hi, Logan.
Hi, buddy. And he says, "Hey, Cat," which I assume is an acronym for our podcast. Why do I assume that?
Is it all capitalized, or is it just lowercase cat?
Sure is. This could be to his mistress. I don't know.
Or his cat.
Yeah. Hey, Kat, has the current studio model ruined or hampered the ability for new auteurs to gain prominence and for old auteurs to continue working in the same way? So this is a question about auteurs. I'll read it one more time.
Auteurs.
Has the current studio model ruined or hampered the ability for new auteurs to gain prominence and for old auteurs to continue working in the same way?
Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Logan. It's kind of a broad question because to even dip a toe into the discussion, you kind of have to talk about what auteur theory means.
Defining what an auteur is.
And I think it's a bit of film jargon that people often get wrong. So if we were to literally, and I'll even just pull up the definition of it. A filmmaker whose artistic vision, I guess, is so influential that the filmmaker is thought of as the author of the movie. That's what the current understanding of it is.
Well,
but
yeah, my feeling is that the creator, whether it's the director, writer, or whoever's kind of the auteur, has superseded the product. So
right. Now, so that's where I do feel as a film school brat to kind of go back into the history of it just a little bit, not too far, because I think it will help us frame this discussion. The reason being, so auteur, can you guess what it means in French?
I thought you were going to do this.
Can you guess?
Where does it derive from?
No. Can you guess?
Artist?
It's just no.
Artist? Author?
Yeah, there you go. Look at you.
I did it.
So anyway, just going briefly into the history of it, there's a kind of a group of filmmakers who kind of precluded the French New Wave called Cahiers du Cinéma. And they were a bunch of really influential thinkers and tried to kind of interject philosophy into the way they examine film. And part of the theory that they're kind of trying to wrap their head around was who has authorship of a movie. Making a movie wasn't done the same way. I mean, it was almost more of a commercial enterprise, and a director wasn't necessarily a visionary. A director was just a fucking blue collar worker, almost in many situations. Not always, but often. And the question of authorship would come up because there were a lot of filmmakers at the time who were saying, well, really, it's the writer who's the actual artist. And, as you go down the road a little bit farther, it gets linked to psychoanalysis, it gets linked to structuralism, it gets linked to linguistics, and it gets dragged through all of this different philosophy, which we can say is important or not. We don't have to go through the history of that. The reason I bring it up is because there is an important concept of intertextuality, I guess is the word I'm looking for, that I think applies to authorship. Auteurism? Saying auteurism makes it sound like a
I wonder how many
disease
times we've said auteur.
that Caden might have. Well, we're going to say it a whole hell of a lot more. But the idea of intertextuality comes up. And what that means is there even such a thing as pure authorship of a movie, because there's so many moving parts, there's so many structures to a film. So I just want to have that in the back of our minds as this conversation progresses, because I'm going to come back to that point. But that being said, right off the bat, what is your response to that question? Has the current studio model ruined or hampered the ability for new auteurs to gain prominence or for old auteurs to continue working in the same way?
I'm tackling this in two pools of the current and the past pool of auteurs that already have been established, and then the ones that are up and coming.
Like the question says?
Yes. but what I'm saying is in assessing how the studio is hampering them, I think it's good to look at those two. So with the current ones, the already established ones, I'm sure there's a bunch of red tape that they run into either way whenever they make a film, but they have more of a leash and a freedom to do their own thing because they have past examples of making money or making good product or whatnot. So the studios, after a back and forth, are probably more lenient in the end. But I think that where that's already established, they can't really fight back as much. The studios have the control over up-and-comers or people that might have had one or two hits but are still unproven. And so I think that's where the real hampering is.
Sure.
Is these newer auteurish type directors or creators.
Let's take a quick step back before we keep going down this road, because I think that you're right about what you're saying. But let me ask you, when you think of an auteur, be it current or well-established, or old, although you don't have to be old to be a well-established auteur. Mm-hmm. What do you think of? What do you look for? So for me, I look for certain camera flourishes, certain mise en scène.
We're getting real French this episode.
Certain, you were just in Europe. and you apparently didn't like the Italians. So if you got to pick a lane, I guess you're
French.
Team France,
French lane.
Team France over here. Vive la France! But no, I and again, this would go against the history of that term. But I do look for certain things. I look for certain visual flourishes. I look for a certain art direction, a certain mise en scene. I look for certain proclivities in music. I look for certain writing motifs.
So this is interesting because I think when auteur is thrown out with filmmaking, it's usually directors, right? It's usually directors and then writers. But to your point, an auteur can be one of many different.
Could be a collection of processes.
It can be a cinematographer. It can be an editor. It could be like you'd call Deacon's auteur in his realm.
Oh, that's a great question. So I mean, Dune 2 Chicks is coming out. Dune 2's coming out, and and Roger Deakins, I'm sure, shot it, and he shot.
It's Fraser.
Oh, okay, well, interesting. So you think about Denis Villeneuve. I think that you could argue that he's earned that title of auteur, if it is something to be earned. I don't know if it's a reward, but just in terms of the popular nomenclature, I think you could describe him as an auteur. And I think a lot of what you think about when you think about old Denis is his cinematography. And yeah, is it his or is it Roger Deakins? And so if that's the case, is auteurism a set of governing ideas? Is it a collection of processes that that routinely comes together? Is Martin Scorsese the same auteur without Thelma Schumacher? These are interesting questions that we're not going to get into. I just want to acknowledge that these concepts exist.
Yeah,
because we're just simplifying which most people do when they hear auteur. They just think of a single visionary. Usually they're thinking of a director.
They think of the head of the snake, which is the director.
For our purposes, we're just gonna think of a director as the head of a project. I'm just throwing that out there because I do think when you get into the weeds of the subject, there are people that will push up their glasses, rightly so, and go, "Well, actually, it's a collection of." And they're not wrong.
You can tackle each layer of a filmmaking process and find auteurs in each realm.
You could say that the fucking gaffing department has an auteurism
there's probably a production assistant auteur out there.
Fuck, there's probably a craft service table auteur. I mean,
Oh man.
Well, I mean, hey,
you think there's a popular, like a go-to craft service person in the realm of the studios?
Think about it. Let's say that like you're, I don't know, Ridley Scott, who's an auteur.
Can't go one podcast without talking about old Ridley.
Love him. But let's say that he goes with the same crafties people every time, and then he makes Exodus, Gods and Kings, and you find out that on that
that's the reason.
Crafty, ABC Crafties or whoever he used, that shoot was on vacation or whatever, and that would explain so much.
It wasn't Ridley; it was the craft services.
No, it wasn't as bizarrely pan ethnic casting, and Anyway, we're not here to hamper on all Ridley, although he's another example of auteur. You kind of say it in your throat.
See, this is also interesting too, because I think, to me, this is why it's so tricky with an auteur, because I think the stereotype with calling an auteur is also, to me, is like a younger, up and coming, like prodigy-esque thing.
No. That's not how that's traditionally used, I'd say. And maybe that's the way you think of it. And I will say this. You've got more wattage. You are talked about more if you're an up-and-coming auteur. I think most like film social media people would be more prone to talk about, I don't know, Ari Aster or Robert Eggers or somebody like that when they're talking about auteur, or Denis Villeneuve. Whereas like when I think of an auteur, I'm thinking about the old hats. I'm thinking about Spielberg. I'm thinking about
Scorsese,
Tarantino, Tim Burton,
PTA.
Yeah, although PTA is harder because his style is so versatile. Having talked about all the different elements of what could make up auteurism, again, we're just going to talk about it as like one kind of figurehead. And one way I feel like I can distinguish an auteur, I guess the best litmus test is if you've never seen a movie of theirs and didn't know they made it, would you be able to watch the whole movie and know that they made it by the time you made it to the end? That's, to me, the litmus test. So if I had no idea what Phantom Thread was, never heard it before, never heard it in the trades, and then I watched it, would I know it's a PTA movie? And to me, he's harder in that way.
Well, it's like Soderbergh. the same way.
Soderbergh, though, I think has enough Soderbergh-isms that I would definitely put it together.
But is that a hampering thing? And we don't have to dive into this, but should you hold something against them for being, because one side of the coin is that they're rangy because they're able to do
but I think
a bunch
that
of different things.
I think that you can show range and still lean on a familiar set of tricks and ideologies and motifs and proclivities and still exhibit range. So maybe PTA fits that bill better than some other directors, because I would say that if I watched one of his films, I would have a harder time pegging it down as a PTA joint, but I would figure it out.
Unless
eventually.
if you saw his film That's in the Valley, then you would know.
I have seen it.
Yeah, I'm saying that's his auteurship is having every film be shot in the Valley.
Well, I'm not gonna. You're just a Valley booster because you have to be.
How dare you?
That's my litmus test. Do you think that that's like? Do you have a better?
No, I think it's very hard to pin down what an auteur is. I think that's a good way of doing it.
I mean, that's just like for the listener, if like this is like an unfamiliar concept to you, like that's the best way I would describe it. Is you're watching a movie you've never heard of, no one's ever mentioned to you. You're watching it cold, but maybe by minute 40 you go, you know what, this kind of feels like a Tommy Wiseau movie, and then you go like, yeah. And you put it together. So
it kind of feels like a Mick G movie.
It's really, oh boy, feels like a fucking
PS
a Paul Widescreen Anderson movie, a Paul W. Sanderson movie. Feels like a real. God, I'm blanking on so many potential names here. Okay, that's all just background that I want to throw out there. I feel like you have to kind of kick that background out there.
It's the base for what we're going
before we can like fully answer this question. But I feel like we can answer this question now, having laid that out there pretty quickly and easily. I think everything that you said is true. It is more difficult for the up-and-comer to establish themselves as an auteur. And I think it's even more difficult now. And that's partly because of something that we were talking about off mic. It's a motif that we're going to return to again and again and again on the show. Everything in the world, and I mean everything.
All things.
Everything that you enjoy has gotten shittier. Every single thing. And we did this thought experiment off mic, and we couldn't think of one thing that hasn't gotten...
I was more optimistic, and then once I thought about it, it kind of settled in.
And that's, of course, look, that's a generalization. Access to information's gotten better. You could argue maybe music's gotten better.
Problems, of course. These are very...
No, but that's my point. So we are very, very lucky to live in this country, blah, 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 blah.
We are so fucking lucky to be Americans. Woo!
But, and I get it, we are. But if this is like about as good as it gets, and we're not the fucking 1% or anything, but if this is about as good as it gets, if you're not the fucking 1%, and virtually everything has gotten shittier for us, imagine how it is for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So, and by and large, we've run the experiment, and the rest of the world does understand that everything has gotten way shittier. So that's all to say, this is an offshoot of that. The people that have been given license to run these companies, and run is in scare quotes,
meaning the studios.
Operate, the heads of these studios.
Yeah.
And this is, again, I threw it out there. This is something we're going to come back to again and again and again, because it's probably never going to stop being true until we're dead, are the worst possible people that you could possibly have running those studios. Absolutely the fucking worst vest-wearing idiots that could possibly be running these fucking studios are running them right now. Is it probably bad that I'm saying this in public? Probably. Is it going to change anything? Probably not. They're the absolute worst people, because I alluded to an earlier time in Hollywood, and certainly the heads of the studios have always been shitheads. This has been well documented.
They've always been monsters in one way or another.
There's a library of literature that I can refer you to. Feel free to DM me. We can go through the history of Hollywood, and the heads of studios have been very rapacious, very power hungry, predatory, and truly just making the most bizarre and baffling creative decisions that one could possibly imagine. However, you could argue, at least at one point, even though most of the heads of the studios were overstayed their welcome, were making truly bizarre choices, were generally way too conservative for their own good. You could generally count on at least some percentage of them to also be fans of the movies.
Yeah, they loved what they did. Well, they wanted money, and that's neither here.
Sure,
That's always the case.
That was always agenda
But they
one.
actually cared about what they were doing as well.
No, not always. Not always. But often.
More than not.
That is what has changed, Logan. Now, the heads of 99% of the creative agencies in this industry don't give a flying fuck about the creative content.
Money and clicks.
They care about eyeballs, clicks, money, and that's it. And they're amongst the most cynical people on the planet because they think that you are so stupid that you don't value any of this shit, any of this auteurship. And sometimes, I'm sorry, folks, you kind of prove them right. No, not our listeners. Not our listeners.
No. I was gonna say they are counting on this constant churning of 24/7 content and culture that whatever abysmal decisions they make, it's going to be in the wind in 24 hours, which to their credit, that's usually right, but it doesn't make what they're doing completely wrong and completely just callous to what this industry has been.
Now, why do we bring this up in this context? Well, we bring it up because that is the issue that is, if your statement is correct, Logan, that is the issue that is responsible. That is the responsible party. And there are a couple of ways. And now, first of all, I'm not sure I necessarily agree 100% with this statement. I think it's still possible for new auteurs to prosper, I suppose, or rise through the ranks and gain prominence. And I do think it's possible for the old hats or the established hats to continue thriving.
But there's not as much leash, though.
There is much shorter leash, and there are a few caveats to that make a lot of what you are bringing up in this question relevant, Logan. So one way that this happens is auteurs nowadays are very quickly absorbed by the studio system. What I mean by that is, look, let's not mince words here. Everybody that starts making movies at a certain point wants to make movies at scale. Not always. I'm sure that there are some filmmakers out there that all they want to do is make simple little chamber dramas that are very minimal and don't require a big budget, and that's fine. And I'm glad those people are out there because we need them. But I would argue 70% of filmmakers who get in the game at some point want access to resources that will allow them to tell whatever story they want at whatever scale they want. And unfortunately, it's a carrot and stick system where if you are an up-and-coming director, it's really easy for, say, a Disney to come in and go, "Hey, Chloe Zhao, saw you made a couple of movies there. I think one or two of them."
Why is he
Because it's like a sex predator.
Chloe, saw you made a couple of movies there. Oh, I loved them. Oh boy. Ooh. And sorry. I wanted to see if maybe you will make a movie for us, for Disney. And it's going to be called The Eternals.
Oh, can I have output on it? Can I have any kind of leeway on the story? Are you gonna shape the story in any way?
No, we're going to write the script and it's going to tie into our cinematic universe. But don't worry, because you are a new auteur. And, we're going to give you complete freedom and latitude to do whatever you want as soon as you make this movie, as long as it makes $300 million at an opening weekend. Anyway, so you think you'll do it?
I guess.
Great. That's so great, Chloe. Welcome to the team.
So, I mean, that's all I'm saying. It's like that's
exactly how it happens.
That's how, well, maybe it is. But people get absorbed into the studio system, and then when they do, a lot hinges on their immediate success there.
Well, yeah, unless it's like the mirror situation there is Ryan Coogler. Like the same exact thing happened with him, except for Black Panther was a global phenomenon.
Sure. But then he makes one. Then he well, it's not even in his hands. His lead goes and takes the loss and shuffles off into the sands of eternity, and then Coogler's kind of fucked with the next film. And I don't know, and I think he'll be fine. I do think that the reception to that second film is probably going to hurt him a little bit.
But still, I think to your point, I think there's some leeway there. And I think to no fault of Chloe Zhao's, I think there's some leeway towards Coogler because that first Black Panther movie did so well.
Sure. But yeah, so either way, it's a gamble. There's no guarantee that because you've been absorbed at a high level, I mean, look at like a, Colin Trevorrow or who I would never have called an auteur. He definitely actually he's kind of a hack. Anyway, neither here nor there. It's a different discussion. But I mean, you can get absorbed or Gareth Edwards, was an example, I guess.
Or Matt Reeves.
Now, you could always argue that those guys, at least, were always kind of shooting for doing this kind of stuff. So it's hard to say. Anyway, I'm just saying it's like you get absorbed and you get absorbed by the system and you either kind of stay there and thrive. But it's kind of rare that you get to even do one for you, which I think is part of why you get into it. You go, well, yeah, okay, I'll make Little Mermaid 3, Flounder's Best Queef or whatever, and then don't get to do the next.
I don't think
fucking
fish
thing.
do that.
Oh, they do it, and it stank. So yeah, that's one way you can get absorbed.
I think you're done.
You can get absorbed by the system, but yeah, you can also just kind of never get that opportunity and just never make anything commercial enough. So you could be like a Jeremy Saulnier or something who's perfectly happy to make taut, low budget thrillers and just happy to kind of stay in that lane. You don't always have to be shooting for scale. That is something that helps you establish yourself as an auteur, is if you have a broader set of tools to really show your stuff. So it gets tricky. The other end of that is the old auteurs. And the problem with them is whether they will have the ability to keep making the kinds of things that they're making. Whether they age out, there's a lot of pressure on their back to keep delivering. A lot of people think just because an auteur is established that, oh, well, they've made it. They're going to be able to keep working at whatever level they want.
Yeah, I think there's a clear example with, and I'm not meaning to shit on him again, but there's a clear example with Ridley Scott versus somebody like Scorsese or Spielberg. Not that Ridley Scott's not taking swings and wanting to push the envelope, but his average in his later years hasn't been as great as Scorsese and Spielberg or those. And so, but the good thing is that he's still getting his shots to do it, because I think of his history and the past work he's done.
Well, I think that his stuff still makes money. I think that even when it doesn't make money, yes, his batting average has dipped a little bit. But I think that they know that eventually he's going to hit a home run still. And I think he's a safer bet than some others. And if you're well established enough, you kind of can create your own ecosystem. You can become a Clint Eastwood and just go like, oh, I'm going to create my own company. I'm going to just hammer out a million scripts and do 2 movies a year.
Well, his are extremely under budget, I'm sure, because he does one take.
Yeah. So, and he's always worked that way. But you brought up an interesting kind of case in the middle there off mic. Do you want to go into the Damien Chazelle thing?
Yes, which if you've listened to past versions of our show, you would know that I'm a big Chazelle fan here.
Huge chiselhead.
Chiselhead. We were talking about this, and it kind of was weirdly uncanny that this came out yesterday, where he was talking about that he basically is writing his next film or close to finishing it. And he was on, I have the article pulled up here, he was on a podcast talking about this, and he was bringing up the question of whether he would get the funding that he's gotten in the past, and basically saying that because Babylon flopped and it was a huge budget, that he doesn't know that studios will give him that type of money in the future. Yeah. Or anymore, and what that means for his movies going forward, or his ideas that he makes or writes, and how that kind of shapes the rest of his filmography moving forward.
So, and that's the constant target on your back that I feel like I was referencing just a moment ago. Is you can be you can be kind of an established, even though his filmography is still pretty, I don't want to say slight, but he's got maybe 4 major films under his belt. But so it remains to be seen whether he would have evolved into like a household name. But he's definitely a person whose style I would say you can probably recognize. I mean, again, the sample size is a little bit small, but he to me is representative of someone in between. He's not quite an established auteur, but he's not necessarily up and coming either. I'd say he's But if you're a studio head for this practice, if you're a studio head and you have a bucket of money to give for your next film, you can have Mark Webb do a Spider-Man, or John Watts do the next Spider-Man, or you can have Damien Chazelle do his next project. Who are you going to throw that money at? As you, not as me. I'm giving it to Chazelle, but I also and listen, he's a hard one because now. And oh God, I'm going to throw up my mouth a little bit, but like this is like where I don't know how I feel. I don't know if I can even blame the studio heads this time, because Babylon was a a really, really ambitious swing. And like if that's the direction that he's going in, where his movies are going to become these very big, sprawling, even kind of out there. And by the way, I like that film. I thought that it was nuts, and I like that it's nuts. And I think it has something to say. We could deliberate what that is. So I appreciate that film exists, but man, it is not a film that was made with the masses in mind. I would be a little bit, if I'm just thinking about it from a business perspective, which is the really the answer to your question, Logan.
Would he make money,
or would he even connect with people? But as somebody who doesn't give a shit about any of that, I absolutely would just be give it to Chazelle. But if I'm the head of studio, that's a case where I can kind of see what's going on there.
You wouldn't go full, even if you were an exec, you wouldn't go full the opposite side of the spectrum and say you're going to get very minimal funding.
But they do all the.
Not
minimal funding.
I hear your point, and what I'm saying is I think if you're a smart studio head, you look at his past films before Babylon, which I agree with you. I think Babylon is great. I think it was doing something interesting. He went
it was a
swing,
moonshot. Whether he ended up,
but it's enjoyable.
Yeah,
but. If you're exec, my move would say you look at his previous 3 films, you look at what those are, and you say, we're not going to give you Babylon budget, but we can give you a La La Land budget or a little bit more than that, and you can do your next film.
And maybe, and I think it remains to be seen because, again, the studios have merged significantly in the last 4 years, in the post-pandemic years. In the post-pandemic years, every single big business has become, again, everything has gotten much worse. It's not the pandemic's fault. It's our reaction to global events. It's the industry's reaction to strikes. It's the industry being told that you can't treat people like fucking slaves, which they like having slaves. So when they were told you literally can't recreate the slavery model for your fucking studio, they got mad. They said, "No, we want slave." We said, "Well, you can't. Slavery is immoral and it's illegal. We want slave." Okay, I know you want slave, but you can't have slave. Well, when we get robot and robot be slave. Yeah,
but it won't be.
But the robot won't be good. I think it'd be good. People love robot. No, but you don't understand. We need human beings making human product. No, we don't. Robot make human product. And then they tried to let robot make human product. Didn't work so well. Then they threatened to use that as a cudgel to get people in line. That didn't work. And now we're in a place where we just have to double down on everything we like in the entertainment industry because basically these people have no fucking idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so that's really the simple answer to your question, Logan.
Simple answer.
Well, I mean,
40 minutes about
there are complex moving pieces behind it. But the question is, has the current studio model ruined or hampered the ability?
Yes.
And yes, that's the simple answer. And by current studio model, I mean the most rapacious, capitalist, fucking
vest wearing,
fucking franchise eliminating, new project shitting,
Wile E. Coyote killing.
Yeah, just that level of cynicism that has crept into everything we love, but especially movies, is what makes your statement more true than untrue, Logan. So we've prattled on about this. It's probably time to move on. Anything else you want to say about Auteur?
You're holding out hope that there's still a sliver of room for these people to grow and for up and comers to find a footing in this system, but it's becoming more and more apparent that those opportunities are slim and they're going away, and it's just kind of depressing sometimes.
But you know what, folks? Not all hope is lost. You can still drown your sorrows, but you can also vote with your dollar.
See, Dune 2 Chicks.
Dune 2 Chicks. It's not mine. I didn't craft it. That was a different podcast. I'm not stealing it. Okay. Okay. Well, let's move on to segment dos. And as I discussed in the intro, the fabulous intro to our show, the number 2 way that we restore sanity.
What is it?
The number 2 way that we restore sanity is discourse. Is by unpacking the ideas and assertions we stumble across out there in the social media landscape. And today, we have one that we just want to briefly touch on. And this is an idea that I think sucks. And sucks is harsh.
But it's a bit harsh.
It's an idea that I don't
agree with.
Want to... As a idea, I'm going to bash, so I'm not personally going to talk about the source. Now, if you agree with this one, you feel free. as a
Person.
This is from a publication,
Rag.
a rag that will go unnamed, and a writer that has a viewpoint who says terrible marketing ruined one of the most astonishing movie moments of the year.
What movie?
He is referring to, spoiled his pronouns, so already you're going to know who it is.
Unbelievable.
He's referring to Mission Impossible 7, Part 1,
7.
Death Reckoning. The Reckoning of the Dead.
Dead Reckoning.
Dead Reckoning. And let's just get slightly into this. So
Skip ahead 1 minute to avoid Dead Reckoning spoilers.
Ethan Hunt is out of options, he writes. He's ridden a dirt bike to the top of a mountain and needs to get on a speeding train thousands of feet below. His old pal and tech guru, BNG, that's fucking old Italian grandpa showed up here. Yeah, BNG essentially tells him, just jump and figure out the rest on the fly.
Just jump.
There's only one way he can cover all that distance and time, and that's to ride the bike off the edge of a mountain, deploy a parachute, and hopefully land on a moving train. This gentleman feels that showing this movie and basically
showing the stunt,
a featurette where they show how it's done.
He says it's like, and I didn't see it, but I saw it on my YouTube feed. It was like a 9-minute featurette on how they
I watched it.
Executed the stunt.
This writer would argue that level of exposure to this moment in the film not only ruins the stunt, but ruins the movie and one of the most astonishing moments in an action film of the year. Now, this leads us to a bigger conversation about,
Marketing.
I think, marketing and trailers. But I want to just focus, I want to start with this moment. And I want to reject this premise. And here's why. We're going to get into a brief conversation about whether trailers go too far in spoiling things, whether things can be spoiled or whatever. But the thing is, in this case, I think the author has already explained why none of this really matters in his opening paragraph, which I just read. Because he says, there's only way that he can cover all the distance and time, and that's to ride the bike off the edge of the mountain, deploy a parachute, and hopefully land on a moving train. Okay, that's the part
phrase
of the paragraph that I want to underline. That's the word, hopefully. Nothing about all of this mishigas about them building a special ramp and teaching this beautiful Scientologist how to fly off of it. And
you do love him.
You know what? Hey, he's
he
the
might be your biggest celebrity crush.
No, absolutely not. I would just say that he's our best worst movie star. that's how I describe him. He's our best worst movie star, but I like him. And there was a lot of to do about this moment, and it all stems from an earlier entry in the series. So I believe it was Rogue Nation, another Rebecca Ferguson joint, where at the very beginning of the film, Mr. Cruz, his fervent desire to become a red smear on a runway somewhere.
Oh, is it the plane one where he
hangs from the side of a plane? And not only does he do this without the aid of CGI or very minimal CGI, he does this for realsies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he had harnesses and such, so that's the minimal CGI. But yeah, there's nothing that says that a fucking seagull going, I don't know, 100 miles an hour in the other direction couldn't have implanted itself into his brain pan. So it's a risk. and it generated a lot of publicity for that movie, and that movie did really well. So A, did you really not see this coming, writer? But B, this is no different than that. And that didn't ruin that film. Now, I'm sure this writer would argue, well, that was the opening scene, not even pivotal to the plot of the movie. That's true. However, nothing about the stunt that they've made so much to do about in Mission Impossible 7 spoils what actually happens in the film. It shows you an exciting moment in a film full of exciting moments.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you, now I want to get your take on this, Mr. Frank, but I want to put another quick scenario out there for you just about this franchise. At the beginning of all of these films, or at least I'd say the last 6 of them or 5, the filmmakers, no matter who's making the film, have all employed a familiar device. At the beginning of the film, they show you every scene that happens in the film in the opening credits.
Yeah.
Now, when you see that at the movie, do you get up and leave?
No.
Now, why not?
I see what you're doing here. And this is smart. This is a good way of framing it because there's no context to what is happening in those scenes. It hasn't been put together with
But
the story.
hasn't the movie been ruined for you? I mean, you've seen now. They literally at the beginning and the credits of every one of those movies show you every single thing. Not every single thing that's going to happen. Show you every single
highlights.
set piece in the film.
Well, James Bond does this, I think, sometimes too. To your point, but yes, it doesn't ruin the movie.
Why don't you leave?
It gives highlights to. It entices you. That job of the opening credits is to entice you or to get you amped up for what you're going to see. And I think that this writer is misconstruing what is a tease or a ramp up or something to infatuate you with ruining a plot.
Okay, yes, I agree with that. Now, would you agree then that he's wrong about this particular stunt?
I think he's wrong about this particular stunt. I think there's other sequences in this film that are actually better than that stunt.
Yes.
But to
You have seen the film, yeah.
yes,
So-
yeah,
okay, yes.
yeah. I saw it on the huge screen of a plane monitor. But I
boy.
did see it.
What a way to see that movie. How could you?
It was there.
Oh,
and I
man.
hadn't seen it yet. But I enjoyed it a lot, and that's not the point of this. But to my point, there's other sequences that are better, other stunts that are
Certainly.
just as good. And again, this is a pivotal stunt, but to your point, the teases that they've given, and we kind of disagree but agree on this. I don't.
Well, we disagree on a different aspect.
Yeah,
of this.
I don't like teasing stuff. I don't like giving a lot of information out there. I don't like
Right.
the featurettes, all that stuff before. You can do
Sure.
the featurettes after the movie comes out, all that stuff highlighting those things.
That's fine.
But I don't think that even releasing these featurettes, these videos, or these glances into the making of the film and this stunt ruins the plot. I don't think that it ruins the movie experience, and I don't think it ruins the plot or any information that has to do with the movie going experience. Do I want a trailer that gives a lot of information? No. But a trailer that gives a lot of information still doesn't ruin the movie going experience. for
Okay,
me.
just to quickly move on from just this take, I would argue that this is not terrible marketing. Maybe it's marketing that ruined a particular moment for you, but they are literally learning from their past success in this
Yeah.
instance. The success of Rogue Nation, which was actually more successful than this movie, so maybe they won't even go there for the next, which is not even called the Dead Reckoning anymore. It's not a part 2 anymore. In fact, they've decided to strip the part 1 from the title of this movie.
Retroactively?
Yes,
Really?
it's kind of like Edge of Tomorrow or whatever, because they want it to stand alone as its own thing, which is weird, but whatever, because it doesn't stand alone. But I think that we can easily put this one to bed.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
clearly there's
nothing-
another one coming that's connected to it.
And the first question that everyone asks after they see him jump is, "What's going to happen next?"
Yeah.
They don't go, "Oh well, I guess I know everything I need to know about the movie."
I see that, and to your point, this is the last thing I'll say, and this is a spoiler if you haven't seen it. But he's jumping on this to try and land on a train, and the article says it, so I guess it's not a spoiler. When I watched the featurette, or when I saw them promoting this, that didn't click with me. I didn't know what he was jumping to or for or anything like that.
Sure.
So it was just, oh, look at this cool stunt being executed. I have no idea how this fits in the plot.
Okay, so now you just referenced a bit of a disagreement we have about spoiling things in general, and so I just quickly want to go down that avenue, and then we'll move on.
Come at me, bro.
The thing is, Mr. Frank and I come from different thoughts, different schools of thought on this, because I don't think that you can really spoil anything. Because for me, now a movie can hinge on a plot twist or it can hinge on a special moment or whatever, but I guess it gets murky for me. Okay, I don't want to say you can't spoil anything.
I was going to say,
What
there's
I
plenty of
mean is
spoilers.
I think that a good movie is immune from a trailer that shows too much. I think that
most good movies don't do that, though.
yeah, but I think that there are plenty of examples that do. And I think that you can show every set piece in a film. I think you can even show big character reveals that, might feel special the one time that it gets. And don't get me wrong, it can feel special when you're surprised by things. I'm not going to pretend that there's no power in being surprised by things. I would just argue, and this might be one of the more smug things I ever say, but I would argue that if you're a fucking sophisticated moviegoer, that a lot can be spoiled for you. He's holding his pinky out. This is an audio medium, Mr. Frank. I would argue that a lot can be revealed to a sophisticated moviegoer, and they can still derive almost 100% of the same enjoyment that they would have knowing things are coming because the power of the movie making, if the power of the movie making is good enough. But I'm also a human being like everyone else. I like surprises. It's fun to be surprised by things. What I value, the staying power of a film for me is whether it's well done. So those surprises are fun, but I feel like as you kind of grow up as a moviegoer, and don't get me wrong, surprises are great. Still like to be surprised. But like I think as you kind of become a better movie watcher, I don't know. Again, I realize how this fucking sounds, so like I'm trying to tread lightly, but
Get off my lawn.
no, I just think that if the movie's good enough, it will resonate even if you know things are coming, or it will transfix you enough that you forgot about all of that shit. In fact, and that's happened to me. There have been times where I've watched a trailer end to end, and I'm like, oh my God, wow, like that guy's going to be in this movie. I kind of wish I didn't know that. But then I get into the theater and the movie sucks me in because it's good. And then I forget everything about it. Having seen the trailer, I know they're going to go to the lava planet or whatever the fuck it is, but I'm sucked in because the power of this movie is like so fucking invigorating, and I'm in it. Everything about the trailer went in one ear and out my ass, and I guess that's all I'm saying. I feel like a good enough movie draws you in, sucks you in a way that whatever you know about it leaves your brain.
Yeah,
once you're in it.
I mean, I kind of agree with you.
And that's kind of sounds like hot takey bullshit. So I'm not saying that applies across the board.
No, it's not. But I kind of agree with you because, I mean, we were talking about Dune before this.
Dune 2 Chicks.
Dune 2 Chicks. And you had read the books and I haven't. And you were like, oh, a spoiler. I'm going to talk about something. And I was like, I don't care. It's not a big deal. That spoiler of what you talked about is not going to impact my movie going experience in any way. So it's
unless the movie does such a crappy job of pulling you in and you're bored and you're like, where is this all going? And then maybe you start thinking about some of those, but that's a bad movie. So
exactly. So what I'm saying is going into it, I wasn't like, I'm not going to be like, oh, I wish Colin hadn't told me that one anecdote about this story from the book. I'm going to go into this movie and the experience is going to be the experience. It doesn't matter that you told me that detail or not.
Right. So maybe I should refine my viewpoint. I guess what I would say is I think it's hard for good movies to be ruined, even when too much is revealed about them. But it's quite easy to ruin a movie that loses you the second you're in the theater because it's doing nothing to hold your attention. Maybe that's a better way of shaping my viewpoint. So just very briefly before we move off this subject, can you think of a trailer that absolutely ruined an experience for you? And there are people that, and part of the reason that I have kind of an allergy to this, and part of what I want to make a teachable moment of this, what a phrase, part of the teachable moment I want to extract out of this kind of writing is that this feels like trying to meet a deadline kind of article writing. Because when I was kind of like thinking about this subject, I was just like arching my brain for like real examples of movies that I felt like I had absolutely been ruined for me. And the thing is, like, trying to like jumpstart my brain, I was like, oh, let's see like what fucking Reddit has to say about this. Like, type that in Reddit, like, trailers that ruin movies, and maybe like 50 or 60 articles were like populated the screen, and they were all the same. They're all fucking articles.
I feel like it's all horror movies. I feel like it's all crap.
Well,
B-level
a lot
horror
of it was superhero stuff.
Okay, well that makes sense too. Either way, I think if we were to both list our most highest tier movie going experience or films we were looking forward to, the trailers for those are actually pretty cryptic. And so I would argue that the ones that are kind of mid-level and below genres and whatnot, those are the ones that have the trailers that spoil everything. The ones, the Nolans, the Villeneuve, the Tarantinos, all that stuff.
He's not Spanish.
Spielberg's. There's all those filmmakers have a pretty tight grip on what is released out there, and so all the films that everybody is really kind of rushing to aren't really spoiled through trailers or aren't given a 3-arc story through them.
Now things can be revealed that maybe you didn't want to have revealed. We're getting a bit off topic, but I'll go here for just a second. As and maybe that's why so many of the superhero movies populate these fucking listicles, and it's always like, I just wish I hadn't seen, I just wish I didn't know that the Hulk was going to show up into that Thor movie.
Yeah, it's like it's a stunt casting thing where it's like, oh, that person's in this, and it's like, oh, they shouldn't have put that in there.
It's like the fucking Flash movie.
Yeah.
But and if that's what you care about, then all you care about is just seeing cameos. And at that point, yeah, you're gonna be spoiled if some shit like that. But to me, that means the movie isn't very good.
Yeah, they're just trying to get you in because of that reason.
Anyway, I guess we're getting a far field from the point I want to make, which is that just trying to like kickstart my brain on like things that movie experiences I felt were just truly ruined by a trailer. And I'm sure that there are trailers that revealed a little bit too much, that spilled a little bit too much Kool-Aid that I wish I hadn't come armed with. But just trying to even kickstart my brain on this subject, I was just treated to 50, 60, 100 different articles that all had the same fucking movies, and they were all low-hanging fruit, and I'm not entirely certain that they weren't fucking written by AI bots. And like, it just makes me realize that, and this is the Jerry Springer teachable moment that I want to relay to our audience, is that I think that this feels like a rushed, I have to meet my deadline kind of story.
Yeah.
And so when you hear things like this moment in this trailer ruined everything, I just want people to think about whether it actually did. Because it's very easy to read something like that and be like, yeah, it ruined it. Because like people are very reactionary these days. We live in a reactionary world. But I'm just urging our audience to, when you stumble across a headline like this, or a tweet, or a suggestion, assertion of this kind, really think about whether it did ruin or heighten or whatever the claim is about the thing that you're reading, whether it really did do that thing. Because it's very easy to read something like this and go like, yeah, man, it ruined it. But you know what? If you think about it, it's a little bit longer. All it does is put the ball on the tee.
Yeah.
Now,
it's like pitchfork type stuff where it's like,
yeah, and Jaden couldn't very easily miss the ball. We don't know. But, he flies off a ramp. In fact, we know more about how the fucking ramp was built than whether he's actually successful. Does fucking Ethan Hunt turn into a puddle of brain at the bottom of a chasm at that? Who knows?
To that point, no, he probably didn't. And we all know that. And so the stunt,
and the stunt's a cool moment, but you don't know what preceded it, and you don't know what's going to.
You know he's going to survive, but you don't know what it means to the story.
Now, if the trailer is like, in a world
where one man jumps off a ramp,
where a man who's trying to stop an AI, super villain plot contrivance, gets on a bicycle because his new love interest is going to become an agent, and Shea Wiggum's is chasing them, and Rebecca Ferguson died.
Fucking Rebecca Ferguson died. So
then
pissed.
You won't believe how he not only does he do this stunt that we're about to show you, but then he successfully makes it into the train.
Yeah.
And foils the bad guy for the end of part 1.
If the trailer did that, then I'd be a little pissed.
Yeah.
But it's literally just an out of context stunt. It's not even that. Hey, by the way, hate to break it to you folks, there have been a lot of guys jumping off shit on a bike stunts.
I think the plane one that he did in what was it, Rogue Nation was way better.
The stunt itself is not even that, scare quotes, astonishing.
Okay, within context, we would never do it.
Of course not. No, yeah. It's impressive that he did it, and he did it without CGI. He trained to do it. It's super dangerous. It's very impressive. But as far as stunts go, as far as movie spectacle, I guess,
the motorcycle scene in Rogue Nation is way better.
The motorcycle scene in Rogue Nation and in Fallout. And
that's what I mean, Fallout.
Well, both there too. And they're both very... The one in Rogue Nation is insane.
Was that the one through the mountaintops?
Under the trucks and stuff.
Yeah.
That's Rogue Nation. That one's nuts. The fucking helicopter shit. That's
Fallout.
And again, that's all Tommy Boy. That's all our favorite alien loving
Tommy.
Thetan Creedon. There's a dime a dozen moments like that in this franchise. I think it's okay for them to isolate one, which is, again, as Mr. Frank alluded to, not even the best moment in that movie.
No, like the driving sequence with them through Italy is.
In fact, in a way, by giving so much oxygen to this moment that's, interesting, but kind of rote, kind of pat, kind of hackneyed, it almost lends more room for you to be surprised when the other cooler stuff happens.
And the other stunts and sequences have more storytelling within them. Like that chase scene in Rome tells a lot more of the story of these characters than him just jumping off a cliff.
Absolutely. But again, the teachable moment is, please just think about whether the claims that are being made, because people don't. People read these things and go, I've got a talking point now. And that's the problem with the world. Just think about the shit you read. That's the takeaway I'm hoping people will take away.
Think.
use your think brain.
Use your think thoughts.
Use think thoughts. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why we had such an allergy to that one, but we did, and it's time to move the fuck on.
Time to move on. Pew, pew. Pew, pew, pew. Let's move on to our third segment.
And that is the third of the three ways that I discussed that we try to unpack the discourse. And that is by occasionally subjecting ourselves to mysteria, media, oddities. And I'll be honest with you, this one is a bit exposed. How would you describe this, Mr. Frank? I mean, I'll just say this. You really would have to be living under a rock not to have caught this fucking thing.
Yeah, I think this is something that we both have seen, and I think just the internet world has seen and just kind of been utterly shocked at, and it was just kind of something that while most of our viewers, if not all, have seen it, we just couldn't pass up the opportunity to dissect this on a granular level.
Yes, as Mr. Frank was alluding to off mic, in the small chance that you are that minor percentage of the world that hasn't heard about this, it'll A, blow your fucking mind, but B, I do think it is kind of an interesting little timestamp. Our show's not above those kind of things, and frankly, it might be kind of interesting to go through this step by step through the eyes of the poor children who had to suffer through it. And so what are we talking about here? Well, we are talking about the Willy Wonka Experience. And it's germane to our show because, Willy Wonka's in the news lately. It's in the cinematic zeitgeist lately. Old Timothée has wielded his version of the old wonks on us.
Yeah, and while you might think that this we say Willy Wonka Experience, it might be a charming little thing based on the movie. Oh boy, it is something much different.
And again, we will reiterate, we're sure this is news to nobody. Even John Oliver had like a little joke throwing shade at it. But man, there's just so many angles to this thing. It's just kind of an evergreen piece of media to keep going back to. So what we're going to be looking at here is kind of like a compilation of different video sources, probably shot by different parents who are absolutely freaking pissed. So let's dive into it.
There's some real trauma here, and we're going to experience this trauma with them.
Yes, that's part of why we're doing this. We want to experience this through their eyes. So here we go. So we're going to describe it as we watch it because this is an audio platform. Although we do urge you to follow along. You'll find the link to the video in our show info. But just right off the bat, so we're going to describe it and we're going to process our feelings about it.
Yes. So the context though is that it's an event in Glasgow that's Willy Wonka themed. That's supposed to be like a marketing, come see Willy Wonka in person, children, and like experience.
Now, do you want to give the context? Do you want to give the background of this event first?
I don't know. I don't know the background, so you can give that context.
Oh, you are in for a treat. Okay, so we'll just watch it, and then I can go into the background a little bit. But so right off the bat, we've got a guy. Now this is the Willy Wonka Experience, presumably aimed at children, family event.
I would hope so. Yeah.
Some kind of a multimedia event. Clearly, even if you knew nothing about this,
it's a live event.
I think that we can clearly see that this is meant to be a kind of like an interactive walkthrough experience. First thing that we see is it looks like they're in a hangar of some kind. Or like a convention hall, but somebody has very haphazardly like clothespin like a striped sheet along like a track of wire. Yeah, and there's a guy dressed like, now this is a Willy Wonka Experience. He's dressed like a circus ringleader.
He's just like P.T. Barnum.
Right, so already we are just wildly off base with our genre. So let's hit play. We're going to describe
it looks like we're just going to go through these cell phone footage videos.
Yes. So this child. Okay, so now
Oh
there's
my
a
God,
man. Okay.
We're not going to pause.
No, we're not going
watch
to pause.
this.
There's
So
a man, a
with the mask.
horrifying man in a silver
That
mask.
just popped out from a mirror.
But he's popping out from like a
There's just pipes
like a
randomly here.
mirror, like a mirror you'd find in your bathroom. Okay, so now we're walking around. It looks like we're at a science fair.
It looks like a book fair or something. Yeah,
not
science
sure.
fair. Oh, there's just random
Okay.
pipes that look from
There's
Mario
like
Brothers.
like styrofoam, yeah, pipes.
And I bet we have to
Okay, oh my God, was that Fabio?
Well, maybe. So now it looks like we're at a
these are
like a
like,
quinceanera or something.
Where did the decorations go? We're just in a blank warehouse now.
Okay, now this is-
There's a street sign, but no street names.
This looks like
Oh
this,
my God.
they're. I'm sorry if we're stammering here, folks, but it's just there's the quality of the decorations is, to say it's subpar is really not describing.
They're going through the pipes. Oh my God.
So
Is
now
that Rachel
we've
Dratch?
got an Oompa Loompa who's putting some kind of a
He's also taller than...
pill in this child's hand.
Just gave drugs to this child.
Now that's supposed to be an Oompa Loompa. It is not a little person. It's just this diaspora.
Okay, they're going over this bridge now, which is probably going over some chocolate river because it's Willy Wonka.
Is it, or is it just going to be like a brown construction paper?
Well, I mean, yes, it is.
This is hard to look at. So, folks, I just can't relate to you the quality of
The
these.
chocolate looks so delicious.
Decorations.
It's a cardboard. Okay, P.T. Barnum's back.
But guys, they're in like a. It's like an industrial warehouse.
These poor children were so happy.
I mean,
at
people
first.
are walking around. They seem absolutely bewildered.
How much money do they think they charge for this? You probably know, so I'll hold.
Let's put a pin in that. These children seem like they're being
Chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Not Willy Wonka. It's just a giant bar that says chocolate bar.
Well, and it really begs the question. I don't know the answer to this. It's whether these people had the rights to do this. But again, so now these children are taking a picture in front of
With P.T. Barnum.
with a circus
Oh,
ringleader.
no.
Oh no!
Are those
no!
peppers?
So now we're seeing. Oh no! Okay, wait a minute. Okay.
That paused on that ended on the best.
Okay,
part.
I'm sorry, guys. So that we may not have been prepared for this. So
I definitely wasn't.
it's a little hard to describe what's going on as it's happening, because essentially what is happening is little children with their families are at an event labeled the Willy Wonka Experience. But the experience is, if you went to your closest moose lodge or cafeteria hall or high school gym, and
High school gym is pretty accurate.
and you kind of just hung up a few sheets and a few banners that you got printed out at Kinko's like same day. Not even sure that like they used like
Where did
actual.
they get the fake piping?
Well, okay, so they had some props that they clearly spent like maybe more than like $2 on, but they are so few and far between and interspersed through this very, very industrial looking warehouse or hall or high school gym or whatever the fuck we're calling it. And it's so spread out and shitty, and they clearly didn't have any kind of budget to like create an actual enclosure of any kind. So what you're seeing is it's sub elementary school haunted house level.
Yes.
Like it's like I've seen better attempts by like high schoolers trying to put like literally like a haunted house or any kind of walkthrough experience.
Yeah.
Like children create and produce. Okay. So we're going to go back through this. We're going to kind of go moment by moment because there's too many good moments. So
We've got to hit all of these.
we have to just kind of have to dissect them. But before we do that, now's a good time to give a certain of backstory.
Yeah.
So,
Tell me what this is about.
sometimes you'll be at a party or a gathering or a bar, and you'll meet a certain kind of person, usually a certain kind of bro, and he's usually trying to sell you on the merits of a certain kind of technology or thing that I don't know, only a certain kind of guy likes to bring up again and again and again. Can you think of what I'm talking about? A certain kind of bro, blank bro. You really
Facing out.
so Elon Musk is like one of these. There's a certain kind of it's a fad, I guess you would call it, in technology circles.
My brain is fried.
It's a crypto bro.
There it is.
This is a scheme devised not only by a crypto bro type, but also an AI bro. Here's why I want to bring. Here's why this is crucial.
Okay.
This is an event that was put together by a scammer. And this is not the only kind of scammies run like this. I'm sure I'm going to skip over crucial details. I'm sure some fucking techno asshole is going to come out of the surface and be like, actually, no, fuck you. This is all, we can all write this off to the hubris of the AI fucks. Somebody put like a Willy Wonka prompt into an AI thing, and it spit out all this concept art for something called the Willy Wonka Experience. So, and you should see the art, and we'll post to that in the show notes as well. But basically, this fucking AI bro, one of these blue check assholes, basically used AI to write a script for something called the Willy Wonka Experience, but also to create like concept art for it. And then he claimed on the back of that wonderful, wonderful work that AI is so constantly reminding us is capable of, said, you know what? This is so inspiring. What AI has produced for us is so amazing. I'm going to put this into real life. I believe that AI is the future, and it's shown us the way. It's shown us the way to make the children happy. So he claimed that with armed, and you know what, by the way, I don't even want to blame AI on this one, because what the AI produced was certainly like Uncanny Valley and shitty, but it would have been a billion times better than this if you see the fucking concept shit, which I'm happy to link to because it's insane. So this is some fucking scammer, some some Firefest kind of asshole.
Got it. Basically,
this is a Firefest situation, except with a walkthrough experience for children. That's the backstory. Now that we're armed with this,
sense.
Now we know why.
So the script that
bad.
he's reading in the beginning is AI.
So that's so, and we're about to come. So yes, there's a reason that background is important, and I'll stop on why. So here we go. So okay, so right off the bat, the first chamber, I guess we're gonna call it chamber, that these children have been subjected to, unfortunately, is, I guess I would describe it as the Gene Simmons mirror horror show. So basically now you know the name of this fellow.
It's called the Unknown.
Yes. So the first thing that the AI did was generate a villain for this scenario.
It's the Unknown?
Called the Unknown. And now I don't know if the AI wrote what the Unknown is supposed to look like.
It must have, because they're not going to go against AI.
If the T-1000 fucked Cher, the child they would produce is this thing that pops out from behind like a bathroom mirror. And I've seen other videos of this. It's not actually in this thing, but this guy does like a pop and lock dance that scares the shit out of children. So that's what's happening first.
Oh my God. Scare the great unknown.
So all of these children are like, what the fuck? Why is Cher and T-1000's offspring trying to touch me? And that's the first thing that we see in this video. Okay.
Then we turn into...
And now this video also has text, but I think our commentary is much more valuable. Yeah. So now that's out into a room filled with nothing.
But weird piping.
Interspersed with occasional props that maybe were meant for an actual room in an actual enclosure or some kind of an actual walkthrough experience. I don't know. Designed by a designer? Okay. So these kids are clearly perplexed. One of the kids actually says, "What was that?" Yes. Yes, child. Yes. What?
What was that?
Was that? Okay. So now there's a caption here that's now explaining what's going to happen next.
What was that?
I don't know.
You do that.
I don't know, Kieran. Okay. So now we're seeing a different wing of this experience, and this is even sadder than the previous thing, because they haven't done nothing to mask the venue that they're in, which again, it's like
a 5 foot black cloak behind background,
right.
But you can see the rest of it.
But it's clear that they're in like the lobby of an amphitheater or a fucking homeless shelter or again a high school gym, whatever it is. It looks like a very
expo center or something.
Yeah, it looks like a very sad Soviet. I mean, they're in Scotland, so it's probably raining outside, and
I'm not joking.
There's oh my god. Okay, so I had to stop here.
I told you, fucking diehard villain just walking by.
A goth Christopher Nolan with diehard villain hair just comes out of nowhere. Now this is apropos of nothing. He's
not part of the show at all, but
this
he's
is just
the most striking image.
Yes. In fact, that's a great point. This just a tall bystander who's done nothing wrong. We're just giving him shit.
Showed up.
Does much more to capture one's attention than the, in scare quotes, decorations that the purveyors of this experience have provided us with. But he really did fucking show up out of nowhere.
£40 a ticket for
So these
this.
children are just wandering around this
It's not as
experience.
expensive as the world, and I bet we have to pay.
They
for
have
that
no
food
idea
there.
what's going on.
Warehouse bar.
These are like the photo bits there.
Yeah, so this lady's, you can tell this lady's pissed. She's
lady's
kind of
fucked
showing,
up.
she's
Yeah.
kind of showing us around, and
She's
things
so
that we're
mad
seeing.
she spent money on this.
There's like a tarp that's like they pinned on a wall that's got like a picture of like a Candyland situation in the background, which I don't know, pretty sure that Willy Wonka didn't take place in some kind of a magical Candyland,
No.
but that's neither here nor there. There's a rainbow
Why is
coming
there
out
a
of a
rainbow?
cloud. Not sure what that has to do with candy.
What a waste of money.
Yeah, no
What a
shit.
waste of money. Yes.
Well, do your research, but okay.
oh, is this where the
Okay.
drugs are handed off?
So this child is being handed a drug of some kind.
Hold on, not yet. Where's Rachel Dratch?
Well, so Rachel Dratch
there
shows
she is.
up.
Okay.
And by the way, I'm going to stop here. This Oompa Loompa has become internet famous at this point.
I've seen some
Because
pictures of her like behind a desk or
there's
something.
there's a still that's certain to go down in history as one of the saddest workplace experiences of all time, because it's her behind like what looks like a chemistry set.
Mhm.
And so I'm assuming she was doing some kind of very, very sad, unrehearsed demo. In fact, I've read about this. All of the actors that showed up for this thing were like, we had
They
no
were
fucking
duped,
idea
right?
what we were walking into. I'm sure this lady, so it's not her fault per se, although she probably should have just walked off the set whenever, like the second that they showed her what the set fucking looked like, but whatever. I'm not going to blame her, but there is a very special, in fact, we'll post it. There's a special picture of the look on her face just sums up the experience so perfectly. So I want to tee that up before you see it. But right now she's giving Kieran, because there's no Cadence in Scotland, it's Kieran,
Kieran.
certainly. Right now she's giving Kieran some kind of a drug, but actually we already know what it is. The video has explained it to us. So this is a Willy Wonka experience, right? What is Willy Wonka's factory known for?
Candy.
Candy, chocolate, things like that. So if you don't have like a big budget for decorations and cast and animatronics and things like that, or like even
Just
that
give
was
him M&M's.
that was
probably.
one thing that the guy promised, and one his big Fire Festival excuse was like, "Oh, ordered all these holographics and they just didn't come in time," which whatever. But you would think in lieu of that, okay, well the holograms didn't show up, right? So what can we do to mitigate this? Well, we don't have the direct decorations, we don't have the cast. What can we do? What can we give the kids?
Candy.
Oh yeah. Oh shit. Did you put that together right now? Just now? Because guess
Thought
what?
about it for a while.
Yeah, you don't need to go too far to just go, well, fuck, we
Kids
fucked
like
this
candy.
up. They like candy. At the very least, we could just ply them with tons of candy at the end of this experience. But do you know what they did instead?
They give him fake candy.
They gave them one jelly bean, which already a fucking terrible candy,
Yeah.
and neon green lemonade in a
Oh.
Dixie cup. And that's it.
Terrible.
Nothing else. Are you fucking kidding me?
For how much money?
It's
how much
Europe.
money was a ticket?
Chocolate is actually good in Europe.
Yeah. And cheap.
It's good and cheap. And as the Belgians have taught us, the kids love fucking chocolate. Controversial. That's for
So she's
5
giving
people.
him one jelly bean.
So
here.
so each child with tweezers, no less. Each child is receiving one jelly bean, and then they're gonna get to. Don't worry, because they're gonna get some neon green lemonade, and they've digitally blurred this child's face. But if we could see the disappointment on it,
I'm sure he.
well, we
threw
don't
it.
need to see his face because like his body language says it all. His
Yeah.
his shoulders. His shoulders
This looks like
sink.
an airplane terminal.
It absolutely. It's like an abandoned train station. It's called the warehouse.
There's a warehouse
Not a
bar.
fancy castle in the
Hey,
world.
jump house.
Oh yeah, there was a bouncy house, but it was like the size of like a kiddie pool. Okay, so now they're going over what
This is my
looks like
favorite-
the most.
This is my favorite part.
It looks like the most expensive attraction in this, but I want to describe why I
it's
think
just-
it's much more sinister. So they're going over this bridge.
That's not connected to anything. It's just a bridge on
well,
flat
no,
land.
it's over something. It's over, but you know what? It's,
but the
I don't know.
okay, so I want to stop here.
it doesn't. The Chocolate River doesn't extend on.
So the
So
bridge
you-
is over what's supposed to be a chocolate river. You know, to me, have you ever seen a Holocaust documentary?
yes,
They shoot a lot of prisoners in real life. And, they invariably put them in pits. This looks like one of
Yep.
those. This looks like the pit that the Nazis shot prisoners of
It
war
doesn't
into.
not look like a pit.
At the very least, it looks like somebody smeared a bunch of shit with their hands. It doesn't look like, even as simulated water, it's bad.
It's pretty bad.
And yes, you're right. It's a river that leads, that
That's a pool.
emanates.
There's two
Right.
pools.
It's not
a river.
There's no need for a bridge. You can walk around it. And
Oh, look, it's a chocolate river.
The
Yeah.
parents are so upset they have to make this up.
okay, now wait a minute. Is that chocolate river on like a conveyor belt?
I don't see it's moving.
Yeah, okay.
I think
But because if it was, that would be almost sadder in a way. Like they put so much
Money into that.
attention into that. Okay, so now we're back on P.T. Barnum. And again, it's a man dressed as a ringleader.
Yeah, not Wonka.
And he's touching these props, and these props look like they're made out of styrofoam at best.
I love the chemistry artwork.
Possibly paper mache at worst. Yeah, chemistry. When I think about candy,
And
I think
Wonka
about
chemistry.
chemicals.
Yeah.
That's what I want to think about. And now we can't really hear what this guy's saying. He's got a Scottish accent. It's one of the most indecipherable accents. But
He's not happy.
I don't necessarily blame him. You can see that he's
an innocent in this.
well, maybe he was a willing participant, but yeah, I have a feeling that he's been duped along with everyone else. And you can tell he's trying to do his best, but it's rough. And he's given some kind of spiel, but the kids, and again, we can't see their faces. We just know we can read their body languages. They're
not happy.
They're not happy.
Here, we need to film your reactions for the Willy.
So it's like a big prop camera. These kids clearly want to keep leaving. Like they keep making moves towards the exit.
Yeah, stranger danger.
I mean, this little boy, you can just tell by the way
Yeah, he's trying to walk
shuffling
away.
his feet, not having a great time.
Do you think you can eat
Okay.
one of these?
And
It's
now
a chocolate bar.
this is essentially, and I know they're children, but this is like the biggest cock tease of the fucking thing because the guy
Giant
asks the kid, "Could you think you could eat a chocolate bar this size?"
The kid's like, yeah,
He's
absolutely.
like, "Yeah, give it to me." And no, here's
Psych,
a fucking
here's a jelly bean.
bitch. Okay, so now this is where the parents can take pictures.
Hold on, we're getting to the best part.
Now,
here.
yeah, so we're not gonna have a lot of space to talk about because there's like 3 frames of video.
But we got to
But-
pause on it. Okay, we got right
Okay,
here.
okay,
Right?
here we go. Here we go. Okay. So the last piece of this video, and again, this is nothing that you haven't heard about, probably, listener. I'm sure you've heard about the infamous Willy Wonka Experience at this point. But if this video impresses anything on me, it's that there's just a treasure trove of media that we haven't been exposed to yet about this, because this is new to me. So
I saw this yesterday.
so
and lost my mind.
apparently, because I had heard that all the kids got was a jelly bean and some neon lemonade, but no, we're seeing the rest of the treats that they're entitled to, and wow, it is special. Do you want to describe
we're at
the delicacies?
we're at the equivalent of like a Planet Kids party room with like sprinkled wallpaper curtain.
This is
and like
Discovery Zone at best.
the worst possible chocolate fondue tower you can ever imagine.
And
with,
if you were a
like,
parent, would you let your fucking kid
No.
dip anything into that thing?
but there's also like paper cups next to it that clearly they've been dumping this fondue in, and it just looks like it's
right.
oily and it's gone through it. But then there's these 2 buffet trays.
What have they been given to
foreground.
dip into this fondue?
There's these 2 in the foreground. There's these 2 buffet trays, metal buffet trays that are 30% filled, both of them, and you don't know what's in them. If my best guess,
It looks
if
like-
I was gonna guess, the left one is like marshmallows,
Yes.
and the right one looks like red peppers.
I would say strawberries, but
It it could be strawberries, but it also looks like just they're scooping up red peppers.
well, they
and-
clearly cut like 10 strawberries into very tiny pieces. So either way, the quality and the the budget of this experience are really being rubbed in our faces at every point of this. Now,
and they're fervently scooping these up. Like the spoon
Well, that
Like
tells me that this is like the tail end of the experience, and whatever the poor workers that they got to this point were probably having to deal with like the angry aftermath of the parents who are like, "What the flying fuck?" And at this point, they're probably just like, "Please take all the candy we got.
Take
Take
all
all
the
you
red
want all the
peppers."
chocolate? Here, you can take the fountain too. Take everything that we have. Just get out, please. Please don't. Please, my name's not really Samantha. It just says that on my tag. I'm so sorry. Yeah, and they are furiously scooping, and probably because there's children there with tears in their eyes, because again they had to deal with Mr. Unknown. And again, if the Silver Surfer had just absolutely just ramrodded the shit out of Gene Simmons, and they birthed a horrible, horrible spawn.
It'd be the Unknown.
That for some reason haunts warehouse lobbies. It's insane. It's insane that it was allowed to exist. But yes, I keep saying Fire Festival, but this is worse than that.
How was it marketed that these parents all bought tickets?
Because again, this fucking dickhole generated all this AI art that looks.
Okay, but if there's an event that is pitched to you that is just based on concept art, are you going to buy the fucking tickets still?
Well, it's also Scotland.
But that's my point is that not that it's Scotland, but like you're just buying it off of concept art.
Yeah, because probably nobody could have imagined that anyone would welch on the fucking goods.
If a kid sees it, they're like, I want to go. Parents going to be like, okay, let's go.
But again, look, okay, this happens all the time. And this is a thing that happens in fucking social media all the time. In fact, here, folks. Here. There's a teachable moment here as well. Sometimes you'll be scrolling through your socials, or not even your socials, like your fucking newspaper or whatever it is, and you'll see like
a newspaper
is a printed piece. They take wood shavings and press them into a parchment called paper, and then put words on them. But whatever, you'll be reading like your blog or whatever the fuck you're doing, reading the news. It doesn't matter where you are on the internet. Sometimes you'll be subjected to an ad for something like the Van Gogh Experience. Something like that. And it's generally like a thing where you go into a room and they're projecting stuff on the floor or something like that. And like, to me, that stuff's cheesy, but whatever. Like, people do that. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes it's fun to be in an environment where you're immersed in something, a laser light show or whatever the fuck it is. So I could very easily see somebody who sees something like that seeing the AI art that this dickhole produced and going like, oh, well, certainly even if it's not very high budget, maybe they're just going to project a bunch of stuff onto the walls. Our kids are kids, they'll see that stuff. It'll be fun. That by the end of it, they'll at least give them a chocolate bar or something, wrapped in like they could just take an existing chocolate bar and put a different wrapper on it. I mean, just a piece of paper that you print out. Couldn't even be bothered to do that. So I could see people seeing the AI art think, oh, this is going to be like the Van Gogh experience that we went to last year. It wasn't the end of the world. We were kind of disappointed by it, but it was kind of fun at the end of the day. We just blew an hour on it, and then we left. Whatever, fine. Yeah, that's what I think is happening here. I think like there was like a slick AI generated ad that just got run into the ground on fucking Instagram or whatever the fuck else, and parents saw that and they said, oh, well, we live in fucking Scotland. I don't know what kind of accent that was, but and so, well, we got to get a fucking kid out the door, eh? I don't know.
That's Canadian.
Just
go with it.
Just go. What does Karen want to do here? Oh, he wants to go to the fucking Willy Wonka Experience.
British.
I'm just doing my best here.
You don't need to do any of it.
He wants to go to the Willy Wonka Experience. Can't do Scottish.
You don't have to.
No, I do. I have to. I'm in it now. Where are we going to take Kieran for the weekend?
It's Kieran.
We'll take him to the. Can we take him to the moors? No.
To the moors?
To the moor. No.
Mork?
The moor. The moor. Where we make our scotch. Nay, we cannot take him to the moor. He been to the moor already. We do that every weekend, Seamus. That's Irish. Well, where are we going to take him?
What's the name of the person speaking? If they're calling Seamus, are you the wife in this?
Baron von Gaius.
That's German.
Nay, what? Nay, you got German ancestors, yay. Anyway, where are we going to take the wee ones? I will take them to the Willy Wonka Experience, we will. Oi, gay.
Gay?
No. Listen, this is what I didn't do it. This is what happened. Oh, what did you hear about that Seamus? Well, I heard about on the Instagrams.
Seamus.
Oi, well, you think that it'll be great? Oh, probably not. But at least they'll have chocolate for the wee ones, yeah?
I really like the unknown.
Yes, we'll take them. We'll take them to the chocolate experience. They'll certainly have chocolate at least. Wow, that was really British. I will take him to the chocolate experience. And they get there and have to
One
start a
jelly
riot.
bean.
Yeah. Well, I think that's enough
I
about
think-
the Willy
I
Wonka
think we're
experience.
good.
I think we've subjected our audience to enough. Anything else you want to say about experiences in general?
I mean, I just experienced something right there.
You did. And I'm glad that the rest of you could experience it with us. castagainsttype@gmail.com is where you can submit your queries, topics. Please give us a chance to adjudicate your film-related concerns, interests,
Issues.
issues that you want to expose the rest of the world to. You can also find us at the Instagram at Cast Against Type. You can find us on the Tickings and Talkings. Somebody's been letting
I will
their
get
end of the
on
bargain
it.
slack on there, not doing enough dancing on
I
TikTok.
will do it.
But we'll have a presence there for all of you 14-year-olds. We also can be found on Apple Podcasts. We can be found on Spotify. And if I just never thought I'd be one of these assholes, but rate, like, review, and subscribe. Smash that. Smash the button. I'm never gonna say smash that button.
Smash
Fuck
it.
that. Never gonna say that. Please, if you value anything that you've heard us say, or even don't value it, rate in any way you will. And give us your feedback. But spread us around. We're found wherever.
Spread us around.
Spread. Don't be afraid to spread. It's one of my mottos. And but if you're enjoying your experience, share and share alike. All right, Mr. Frank. Well, until next time.
Until next time.
Enjoy your proverbial river of chocolate.
And one jelly bean.
We're off to see Mr. Unknown.